This is the installation video for the Twist-A-Throttle system on a trimmer such as this Maruyama that has a solid shaft or solid rod through the shaft. Unlike the Echoes and the Steels and the Shindawas that have a flexible shaft, the installation on this one is exactly the same as the others, with the exception of, because of that solid shaft in here, when you loosen these nuts and you pull this off the end, this entire shaft has to come off all the way down to the end so that you can get the pieces off of this outer piece to do your installation. So the first thing we're going to do is talk about the kit and the tools that you're going to need. So you'll need a pair of wire strippers. You will need a 9mm wrench, a 12mm wrench, a pair of side cutters, a Phillips head screwdriver, a flathead screwdriver, a pair of wire crimpers, and a ratchet with a 5/16 socket on it. The kit comes with the actual throttle system itself, comes with a wire loom to dress up your wires when you're done with the installation, comes with a piece of grip that will go onto this because the shaft size of this weed eater is smaller than the Echo and the Steel and the Shindawa. So we'll show you that. Then you have your new kill switch with wires attached, and you have 2 wire connectors. So the first thing you're going to do is take your air cleaner off. Then you're going to bend that little metal tab up to get your wires out from underneath there. Those are the wires that go to your coil for your existing kill switch. Then you're going to take your 5/16 and loosen up those 2 bolts. Then you're going to take your flathead screwdriver, loosen up the bolt on the side of the existing throttle. Loosen it just enough to where you get some play in it, and then pull that shaft out of the end. So what you guys will find is, when you have these rubber grips like this, if you want to maintain the integrity of the old throttle so that you can reinstall it at a later date if need be, you don't want to cut it. You absolutely have the option to cut this, but then it's useless after that. So if you want to maintain this, you take an air gun from an air compressor, use your shop air, and blow some air on the inside of this between this and that shaft there, and that whole thing slides off much easier. But once you get it slid off there, that's that shaft that I was talking about that runs on the inside of the outer shaft on the trimmer itself. So loosen that all the way out, give yourself just a little bit of room in there, and then pull that shaft all the way out the end. So once you've pulled that shaft out the other end, put this in a place where it's not going to fall, and then bring your other piece of shaft, the outer shaft, over here to your work area where you use it. So now that you've got these pieces pulled out, The end of the throttle cable that goes into the existing throttle system has to be unhooked, just like that. So then the wires will slide back, pull the old loom off, and then take your side cutters and cut both wires on the shaft side of the connectors. Leave the connectors on the weed eater end, or the trimmer end. So now, once that's done, that whole throttle assembly will slide off the end of that shaft. So now, you take your new throttle system, the Twist-A-Throttle, loosen up the two flathead screws that hold that bottom piece on. Slide the new throttle onto the shaft, and then slide that shaft back over push it back up and seat it back into the trimmer head.
There's a lineup screw right here.
That screw that you took out in the beginning, there is a spot in it. Make sure you're lined up on that spot. Tighten it back down. Take the throttle cable. You'll have to unscrew that from in that housing. Pull that piece out. There's a little notch in the side of it that will slide over the old throttle cable. And then run that back through the housing and tighten it back down. So the little ball on the end of that, there is a spot on the throttle system itself where that will hook in. Holds that in place, and then you take the other half of that cover, put it on, and then tighten the two screws back in the bottom. Just get them in there and kind of get them snugged in. They don't have to be completely tight yet because you'll adjust where you want the throttle to be before you tighten it down finally.
Oh, we got to put the tape on too.
So the extra piece of tape that came with your throttle system will go on the shaft itself. Just wipe it down with a rag. If you have some solvent, to make sure it cleans off real good. Get a good adhesion on that tape. So you take your tape, pull the adhesive backing off the back of it, wrap it around the shaft, and stick it down. Then slide the new Twist-A-Throttle over that piece of tape. And put your 2 screws back in the bottom side. So once you get your tape on there and your throttle, the screws on the bottom side of that plate tightened in, roll it back over onto its side, adjust it to the position that you want it at, and then tighten those 2 screws down to hold it in place. So now, once that's installed, the next step in the process is you're going to hook up the new kill switch. Just pull the bolts out of the bottom side of the kill switch and remove the lower mounting bracket. Then place the switch over the shaft. Put that mounting bracket back on. Just like with the throttle itself, don't tighten those down until you get it adjusted where you want it. Just put them in there and get them started so that you can situate it where you want it. So you take your wires, move them out of the way. Now that you've got that right where you want it, snug it down to where it doesn't move. So now, take the ends that are on the new kill switch, cut those connectors off the end, discard those because you will not need them. If you need to peel back a little bit of the looming around the existing kill switch, it's fine. Just cut back as much as you need, cut off any extra. Then you take your wire strippers, strip back just a little bit of wire on each one. Do the same for the wires that are hooked to the coil on the trimmer itself. Just give those a little bit of a twist so that it's easier to put the connectors in. Take your 2 connectors and your wire crimp. Slide the connector up over the exposed wire and then crimp it down. Same thing on the other side. Then take the 2 wires from the new kill switch, run one into each connector. It does not matter which one you pick. Do the same with the other wire. These connectors that come with this kit are heat shrink connectors. So take you a heat gun, and shrink those connectors down to where they make a tight fit. And take the included wire loom and attach it to the throttle cable and to the new kill wires for the new kill switch. Once you get the new loom on, bundle your wires together, put them back into that metal tab to hold it in place. And then you run a piece of electrical tape around the end just to make sure those wires hold together. Next step in the process, you're going to roll the machine back onto its side, and you're going to put your air cleaner back on. And that completes the installation of the Twist-A-Throttle onto a trimmer similar style to the Maruyama. Throttle system works just kind of like a motorcycle throttle does. It's much more user-friendly, much more ergonomic. Thank you guys for your purchase. If you have any questions about your product or your installation, feel free to contact LMS Enterprises. There's the information down there at the bottom. Thank you.